Jason. It's my job to stump. Hey everybody, it's Carrie Hoffmeister with Carrie on Abundant TV, and please welcome my new best friend, Rachel Purcell. Rachel, thanks so much for being on the show today. I'm so excited to chat with you more.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for having me. I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm a fan of yours now, so very excited.
We've literally just spoke for like, I don't even know, 15 minutes maybe? And I was like, okay, let's go ahead and start because I feel like we could talk all day. Well, Rachel is a recording artist. She is a country artist that is now doing Christian music, and we will speak more on that later. All right, Rachel, well, since I have not had you on the show before, I always like to have my first time guests just to kind of give a little bit of their background and their faith journey. From what I understand, you did grow up singing in church, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so if you just want to give us a little background, did you grow up in a Christian home? And did you always want to be a singer?
Yeah, two great questions. I grew up going to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and like middle
Yep.
school, we had like Thursdays. So I was just out here. Both of my parents sang in the choir. My uh, both sets of my grandparents were Christians. And I believe for my family line those were first generation, I guess, Christians. So it's been a couple generations down of faith being taught, which is cool. And and so they actually all sang in the choir. And but my parents uh a choir practice was like a big part of it. So sometimes
Hmm.
I would go and just like, roll around under the pews, how kids are. And I remember my mom would sing solos at church, and I would, this is back in the day when people did solos like during the offering.
Yeah.
Maybe
Hmm.
people still do this, I don't know.
Yep.
But I just remember being like, wow, I want to be like my mom. Like, and she still has a beautiful voice. I would love, for her to put out music. I think that'd be cool. Um, but yeah, church was one of my favorite places to be. I had lots of great friends and was very thankful for that. And then um during, I would say like, a high school slow progression. I just really, uh, in, I would say like high school schooling, started hanging out with people who really weren't following Christ. And, I think my mindset was, I'm gonna witness to them and, whatever. And
Hmm.
it was the undertow. I mean, I completely,
Yep.
um, you know, gave in and just slowly throughout the 4 years of high school just started, it was like a walking away from the Lord that turned into a run. And then college, at the beginning, I would say in my heart, really felt like an atheist. But I would have never said that out loud to anybody because obviously growing up in a Christian home, I I think I was really two-faced, in front of my family or, the people that I knew at church. I would act one way, but then around other groups of people, I would act another way. And it became really exhausting, Carrie,
Hmm.
because if you think about like as a young kid, you're developing so much. And I feel like I was trying to develop two different people.
Yeah.
And so it really just became miserable. And I, was turning to using and abusing drugs and alcohol. I was turning to wanting everyone in the world's validation. And, you know, not pretty much anything other than the Lord.
Mhm.
And, it's a really sad thing to look back on, but I am thankful that the Lord continued to pursue me. And I think those truths that I learned as a little girl, Rachie, that girl was still learning things, and God used those things. And he also used, different people who would come and plant a seed during college. And I would remember, even though I wasn't following, and it wasn't until my junior year of college that, God just brought me to a low, low, low. And I really, was desperate. I feel about my friend Jamie McDonald desperate. I'm like, that was me. And I feel like he had to bring me to that place in order for me to fully surrender to him. And I heard this like still small voice for the first time where he was just like, I love you, I forgive you.
Mm.
And it brought me to repentance, which was cool because I wasn't exactly pursuing him, you know, but he was speaking to me and pursuing,
Mhm.
and it brought me to repentance. And I was just like, all right, Lord, if you're really real, if this is actually you, I don't want to be half in, half out. I don't want to be tossed by the waves. I want to be, all in with you. And I want like a real Christian life. And so I just waved the white flag and I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going in. And so that was 9 years ago, which is crazy that I've been, walking with him all this time. And it's been a lot of highs and lows.
Mhm.
But, now the lows are with him instead of without him. And to answer your question about did I always want to be a singer is yes. I'm like my brother, who's 6 years older, and my parents and everyone in my family can attest. One of the biggest stories that's recalled at like our holidays is little Rachel. I mean, gosh, I was probably 3 or 4, and I would stand on this little blue stool and I would be singing in the middle of the living room, and I'd be like, sing it with me. And I'm like, I've just always been this little ball of entertainment and wanting to wanting to sing. And so my mom put me in piano lessons at 6. And that really, throughout the years moved me into songwriting because I had been doing like journal entries, journaling, and I was learning piano. And then about middle school, I started putting them together. And
Mm.
um and it was just so much fun for me. I mean, I was fine in school, but this felt like my thing, And because it was so funny, like in college, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do for a living because all I'm really good at is writing songs,
Aw.
And so that's kind of in a nutshell, my faith journey, and then um, learning, how to dive into music.
Mhm. That's so good. So, at what point did you get into country music and how did that happen for you?
Yeah, so I started performing out in high school. So I would play piano um, and sing my originals. My parents had helped me buy a keyboard.
Oh.
And so I was playing around in my hometown, Muscle Shoals, and I loved it. It was like Little Blue Stool Girl, but like I have
Older.
I can make tips. So it so much fun. And one night, I think I was a senior in high school, I was performing out at this nice steak restaurant, and this guy who was at the restaurant listening at the bar, he was an A&R representative with Sony Music Nashville. he had been golfing with some music people in my hometown, which to me, I was like, what? I didn't even know that was a thing. But
Yeah.
apparently they come down to this golf course, hang out, and they were staying at the hotel, which had the restaurant that I was attached to. So it was like God's divine place and divine timing. And we interacted. He gave me his card, and I kind of was like, this must be fake. Like, because to me as a high schooler, I was like, there's like, what is this?
Yeah.
I had no context. And anyway, ended up deciding to stay home and go to college at North Alabama and continued to write songs, continued to get my heart broken, which was great for some songs I would get
Yeah,
signed
that's true.
and moved to Nashville right after college to pursue the dream and obviously him being my one connection and it was with country music. My family loves music. I mean, all music, funk, soul, Motown, Christian music, country music. My brother loved rap. We had everything. And so I feel like I was just a sponge of all music. And I feel like country, me being from Alabama, obviously, like I'm a Southern kind of soul.
Hmm.
But I think God used country music to be able to move me into the music industry and with someone who Jim was the guy's name, he was a champion for me. And so it was such a blessing to move to Nashville to have a champion. And then about a year in, got signed to my first record deal and did um country music for 6 years, which is wild to think about. And I learned how to write a song, the Nashville way.
Hmm.
God, who really taught me. I mean, I felt like I went to the school of hard knock songwriters. It was the greatest songwriters in the world. They were teaching me, everything. And I was such a rookie, mostly having written by myself. And so it is such a blessing, now being moved into Christian music, but understanding how to write a song and having all that schooling to be able to apply it in this genre. Um, because I feel like obviously I pray that God used me in country music to be a light for him. Because mind you, I came to know Christ like a year before I moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
So I was like fresh faith, fresh, I'm like sanctification left and right. Oh, and and but I feel like I'm thankful that I was able to pay some dues in the songwriting respect to be able to prepare me to feel like I can come in with a better understanding in Christian music, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you toured with some like Rascal Flatts and Reba McEntire and all of these big time country artists. I mean, you weren't just like in country music, you were making country music in just everyday life. It's hard to have a constant relationship with them. We have so many things and trials that we go through that it's easy to kind of get out of that rut. So I can't imagine being in an industry like that also where you have people who know who you are and ask for your autograph, and it'd be hard for you to not stray a little bit, but so that is awesome. And it sounds like the Lord really kind of just used country music though to give you that training that a lot of even Christian artists I'm sure don't get, to be able to get, because I know in country music I've heard the songwriting is incredible. It is legends that are writing these songs and getting together, and it's hardcore. So speaking of that, what then, where did this come from then of, okay, I'm gonna go now into Christian music?
Yes. So, I am, I'm like, I feel, Carrie, like I'm just like right in the center of God's hand. And I couldn't have even dreamed this up. It's like anything that God is going to do, he's going to do it exactly the way that he wants to do it. And I feel like the lesson for me is just to sit back and trust, which is
Hmm.
a funny way to put it. But so I got dropped by my label end of 2022, and all the feelings of rejection and who am I? What am I doing with my life? Even though I saw it coming
Hmm.
for a while. But it made me really question God, if you are Lord of my life, what do you want me to do? Because, you know, I feel like this is not working, doing doing music just doesn't feel like it's working. And I have come to understand that my identity is not in music, Um, my value is not artist Rachel, right?
Hmm.
And so I want to be humble enough to say, I'll do something else. I know I'm gifted in this way, but if it's not your plan for me, I will go work in a corporate world and be a light and be a witness. I will go, you know, be a stay-at-home wife. I don't know. I will find whatever it is that you want me to do, and I will give it my all. And so I just started praying and was like, what is this? And again, that still small voice came to me and was just like, you're gonna do Christian music. And I'm like, gonna, okay. I'm like, I didn't get a say in this. And it was kind of like for like a week or so straight. It was like every day I was just hearing this. And I'm also very like not, I feel like I'm a little bit weird about like hearing the Lord's voice too, because
Hmm.
a lot of people can like, I don't know, use that and abuse that, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I'm very careful to say that, but when it's happening, you just kind of can't deny it. Um and again, I think about it just like with prophecy, it's like, okay, well, if you're saying this is a thing, well then I'm going to trust you.
Hmm.
And if it happens, okay, that then, that is what you were saying. And I started getting really excited, like an excitement that I never felt like I had in country music, even though
Hmm.
I love country music and all the cool things. I mean, I got to do so many cool things, but this was like different. This was kind of embarrassing to say, but it's just the reality. Like, I feel like I was doing country just to make a living, like just to make a living and be able to, I don't know, retire once I make whatever enough money.
Right.
And I feel like I would do Christian music the rest of my life.
Mm.
And it is definitely to some extent a smaller pool of money
Yes.
in certain ways, but
Yeah.
God will bless it and multiply it
Yes.
the way He wants
Yep.
to. But um, but I think I am just thankful for the excitement that felt really, really genuine. And I was like, all right, God, I think this is like really cool. And I started pouring out these songs that I was writing by myself, wasn't even taking them to co-writes, which is so the Nashville thing. It
Hmm.
was me by myself writing and writing and writing song after song after song. And I'm like, well, it sounds like I'm doing Christian music. Like, no, maybe it's as an independent artist. Maybe it's, I don't know. Um, and he just started opening door after door. And soon enough, I was in meetings again with Christian labels and had champions that I didn't even know were my champions from country music. Um, and it was a slow journey, I feel like, of my way, at least finding my way to centricity as a label, because there was lots of like winding roads within meeting with people and writing tons and tons and tons of songs. And when I met with Centricity about a year and a gosh, a year and a half later, it was just like, this is right. This
Mhm.
is so right. And everything else had been like, well, this is cool, but this is not right. And so to finally be like, okay, Lord, I think this is it. And so they've been incredible. And I'm so thankful for the music that we've put out in the past 6 months. I'm like, it's June, which is crazy. And we put our first song out in January, and um, these songs, I'm about to play one of my first Christian concerts here in about 4 days. I'll be playing in Scottsdale, Arizona, and
Wow.
it's a church of about 1,500 people, biggest crowd I've ever played for Christian music.
Oh,
And I am I'm like dying over here. I'm so excited because I've been practicing my set every day and just thinking about, you know, I understand what it means to impact somebody with a song in country music, whether it's about heartbreak or about life or whatever. But to think about like the way that the Holy Spirit is using the songs that I'm going to write and I've already written for Christ and the kingdom, like that is just really, really humbling. And so I'm just really pumped.
that is so awesome. Music is such a powerful thing. I think of as a child, the things that I went through, music was like the one thing that just can change your life and just give you a sense of hope.
Mm.
There's just something so powerful about music and Christian music. And it's so cool just to see how God like weaved your story through that whole thing of it prepping you into country music for this very moment into Christian music. And I've heard you have three songs out, maybe more, but from what I saw, three. You have Show Up, Have Church, and then You Must Not Know My God, which I listened to. And whew, girl, you have a powerful voice. It's so good. Um, are these songs ones that you started writing before you got this record deal with Centricity, or did these come after? And what inspired these?
Yeah, and actually I do have one more that I put out, but this was only gosh, maybe a month ago that I put it out. So it hasn't been out long. It's called Mysterious Ways. And Mysterious Ways and Have Church I wrote previous to my record deal. I think I wrote You Must Not Know My God previous also. And, they all were just kind of a day by day inspiration, because I show up to the writer's room. Sometimes I have ideas prepared, but sometimes it just comes from the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember for Have Church specifically, um, I was riding with Colby Wedgeworth and Jonathan Gamble, and we were just talking about the Lord's goodness, like different things He's done in our lives. This was our first ride together, I think. And so, that's the way you meet people is you like talk
Right.
about what the Lord's done. And I was like, man, I was getting fired up. I was like, we about to have church up in here. And Jonathan's like, let's write that.
Oh.
Let's do, we about to have church. And I was like, are you kidding me? Yes. Like, make it feel kind of like swaggy, but casual, but meaning, we're here in a guy's studio in the songwriter's room and we're having church.
Mm-hmm.
Just three of us. And I think my husband loves to hunt and be out in the woods. And, he's like, I feel like I know God on a totally different level when I'm just like out here in the wilderness. And he loves to just have church. And so anyway, it's fun having songs that are birthed from just like the moment.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. Church can't be anywhere. That's something that um, I did grow up in church as well, but it was kind of a very legalistic environment for a while. And so you weren't really taught that it was just you had to be in church, you had to be in church. But really to know and to see that God is everywhere and that church can be anywhere by yourself or with people, I absolutely love that. That is so good. And so I did hear that you also have an EP coming out in August. Do you want to
Yeah.
share a little bit more about that?
Yes, I'm so excited. So it's a 6-song EP, so a pretty big one for me. It'll be the biggest project I've ever released, which I'm so excited. And these songs are so special to me. Show Up will be on there, and Half Church will be on there, but it's the original version of Half Church.
Mm.
So the mini EP we already have out is like versions of those songs that we did down in Muscle Shoals. So this will be the original version, which is so fun. Colby produced it and just blew it out of the water. And I'm like, I was singing that day. I don't think I can sing like I did that way again. So
Oh.
I'm like, I'm happy to have that version. I'm like, God, give me that again. But um, but yeah, I'm so excited and still working on the name of the EP. There's a song on it called Mercy in Me, and I'm considering calling it Mercy in Me. But I know there's the band Mercy Me, so I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
I don't know if people are gonna think. So TBD on the name of the EP, but that's the tentative one. And that's a song that I actually wrote the lyric by myself, and two of the songs on the EP have lyrics that I wrote by myself. And they're songs that I wrote at the very beginning of saying yes to God in Christian music. And so those are those like little prime,
Yeah.
fresh trusting. And I'm like, that feels, I can't be more raw than that. I can't blame the other songwriters for being like, it's not good. But God is the co-writer on that one, and I'm just very very excited for people to hear these songs. That this feels like more vulnerable than anything I've ever shared. Just being my testimony, being the writing being really honest, and I hope that they're gonna bless people. I really do.
Mhm. So, Rachel, just one last question. What is your biggest hope? What is your biggest hope for how you want God to use you now that you are stepping into the Christian music industry and releasing Christian music?
Yeah, my biggest hope is, I think, to bring hope.
That's
Um,
good.
you know, because this is a really hopeless, dark world without Christ.
Mhm.
And I have, you know, understood to some level what that looks like. And even with Christ, it is still very hard.
Mhm.
The trials are very dark, and he is our only hope. And so to be able to add to the plethora catalog that's already Christian music as it is, if I can bring one more flavor, one more perspective, one more message, um it would just be to have hope and not give up on walking with him, because he is so worth walking, and really he's the one that doesn't give up on us. But I think like continuing to lean into him is the journey. And yeah, I would be so blessed to find that my music brought hope to people.
Mhm. That's so good. So obviously your music is out wherever music is streamed, but how can people find you and follow you so that they can be aware of when your new EP comes out and a tour that I'm sure will probably be coming in the
You can
future?
find me at Rachel Purcell Music, um, pretty much all platforms there. And rachelpurcellmusic.com has all the music, all the show dates coming up. I have some summer dates coming up in Arizona that I'm looking forward to opening up for Ben Fuller and Colton Dixon. So I'm excited for that.
Love them both.
I know they're
Yeah.
amazing. And then prayerfully that God would um bring, yeah, some touring dates in the spring. So yeah, if you'll just be praying.
Absolutely. And make sure you add Michigan in there when you do
Yes,
that.
love it. Grand
Yes.
Rapids, let's go.
Let's go. Rachel, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was such a joy to have you on and speak with you.
You too, Carrie. Thank you so much, girl.
Yes, and thank you all so much for watching. Make sure that you go and follow Rachel Purcell so that way you can see when her EP is coming out. Thank you all so much for watching Abundant TV, and just remember until next time to carry on.